mentioned, working with leaders. I think there was stage 2, right? Working with leaders. What are some things, if you are in a leadership role, what are some things that you can do to create a culture where burnout doesn't happen, or where you identify and remedy burnout?
Yeah, that's so good. One, I think that leaders have a really significant role in helping to alleviate burnout, and so recognizing that is a role that you, in fact, need to play. That it's important not only to your team, but it's imperative as a business imperative, right? Because I think that sometimes leaders get nervous in thinking that, oh, this is kind of touchy feely. I don't know if I can go here, or they kind of think, oh, this is for, this is an EAP referral and my job is done, kind of thing. And so first recognizing that this is really a part of who you are as a leader and what you need to do. And I would say that the next piece is this piece around creating a psychologically safe environment where people can speak up and say, hey, I'm having trouble with this, or to be able to help them honor the boundaries that they want to or need to set. Those types of things, being able to even know what burnout signs might look like in your people, know that them being first in and last out is not necessarily a good thing. And you probably need to be having conversations with them around what's happening, etc. So I think that creating that psychologically safe environment where mistakes are learning opportunities as opposed to things that can't be tolerated, creating an environment where, we have enough trust where you can come to me and talk to me about, hey, this project is really wearing me out. I need to talk through what I'm doing and what maybe needs to change or whatever. And being able to be proactive as a leader in identifying some of the things that you might be seeing in your people, and having conversations with them around what do they need, what have they tried, what else is needed, etc. What might be some of the pebbles in their shoes that might be getting in the way, those kinds of things. And then I think the most important piece is to be able to follow up with people after you've done that initial conversation, because that follow-up is so key. We can't have a one and done kind of thing. So those would be my high level tips.
I think it's interesting because culture in the workplace, I think, is kind of shifting from the perspective, at least some places, work, yeah, to taking breaks and self-care and use your vacation. But I think I've heard in a lot of places, like, that's what's spoken, but people don't take advantage of it because they're not used to it, or they don't take advantage of it because, yes, it's spoken, but like, we still need to get work done. Like, how would you approach something like how does that show up for you? Like, you know what I mean? Just talk through that for me.
Yeah, it's kind of those espoused values of an organization where, these are the things that we have on the nice plaque. That everybody, it's all nice and shiny. However, when you have the real conversations, you realize that those things on the plaque don't mean anything. And I think that incongruence is something that organizations need to be recognizing and to be bridging the gap so that there is less incongruence. And I would say that kind of really begins with a leader one noticing that and noticing their behavior in light of that, right? So oftentimes people get their cues from their leaders, right? You can have the thing that says, everybody leaves at 5 o'clock, but if your leader is there until midnight, you're going to be there until midnight because that's the behavior that the leader is telling you is okay. If in an organization you see that all the people who get promoted are in fact the people who are cutthroat, get it done at all costs, not care about the people, burn people out, and things like that. Then if you're moving through the leadership ranks, then you might adopt that behavior as a means of being able to kind of move through. So I would say that the organization really needs to take a serious look at the espoused values versus the actual values of the organization, and be able to have a conversation around, is this the kind of organization that we want to be? does this attract the kind of people that we want to attract? And if the answer to those things are no, then what steps do we need to take in order for us to begin shifting the tide? And that's a bigger conversation, but that would be, that acknowledgement piece is the piece that I think is the first start.
Yeah, that's really good. And just extra question, because I've noticed that there's sometimes a difference in between cultures and how work is viewed, what hard work looks like, threshold pains and hourly commitments. So how do you feel that shows up with folks from different places around the world or raised in different households when they bring those learnings to work?
Yeah, so this is really interesting and so good because I'm originally from Jamaica, and I know you can probably not tell by any accent that I have. And so one of the pieces that I often bring to the table is this identity level piece and what you learned about what does it mean to be a good worker, a hard worker, or to be a worker, period, right? Because I think that some of this is ingrained in the way that we have seen work demonstrated in our lives through our parents or people that we've grown up with, lived with, etc. And some of that unpacking again starts with that acknowledgement of this was the way that it was for others, and I need to be making a different choice for myself because I can see what the consequences of that was. Perhaps that was for others that perhaps I don't want in my life. So it's a level of that, but also it's this interesting piece around self-compassion, right? Because I think that sometimes the voice of in our head is the one that keeps us on the treadmill, right? Suck it up, get it done, you got to work harder. I don't care if it hurts. All of that stuff, we need to be able to kind of deprogram ourselves from some of that talk in order for us to even overcome burnout or get to a place of being able to prevent burnout. Because otherwise, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy around the fact that we will keep listening to that voice and stay on the burnout treadmill, regardless of where our next employment is. So
that's good.
How, because I think you hit on, if you're in burnout, what are some strategies?
Yes.
And I think we were coming to how to prevent it. And I guess this kind of ties into like, how do you get out of your own head, so to speak? And also like in relation to preventing burnout, like what are some different things or strategies to prevent burnout?
Yeah. So I think that the first thing with regards to the prevention of burnout, I think the first thing is the mindset piece, in recognizing that burnout doesn't need to be a part of your story in order for you to be able to get ahead, right? And I think that that's an important narrative for us to hold on to, because I think otherwise we run the risk of kind of walking down the burnout route because we just assume that this is just the paying your dues or the price that you pay for admissions. So I would first start there with that. And then I would say that it's other things like being able to identify a company culture that is in alignment with the values that you have, in order to be able to know whether or not that there's a match, right? Because one of the research-based kind of causes of burnout is this like mismatch between the values that you hold and the values that the organization, kind of holds. And so in preventing burnout and thinking about that, you need to be making certain decisions around the work environment that you are wanting to be in, stay in, etc. Building boundaries and being able to make those boundaries known to others, and being able to kind of navigate some of that people pleaser kind of tendencies in order for you to be able to kind of make those requests known. Those are kind of some of the things. I would also say it's also this piece around that identity piece that I made mention of, being able to recognize that work is not all of who you are, right? And so
Yes.
being able to then like pull apart the different parts and pieces of who you are as a means of being able to understand that just because things might not be going so well at work, you can still be okay in other parts of your life. You can still gain strength and joy and more kind of resiliency from other parts of your life, so that you can be at choice in the different other places in your life. And so I would say that burnout prevention also kind of has to do really with us being able to recognize that we are in control of our lives and being able to be in control of our choices. And so those are some of the parts and pieces that I would say, and taking care of ourselves, being able to recognize that some places might not necessarily be the places that we need to be in for forever, and knowing when we need to pivot and when we need to kind of do something different, and being able to speak up and advocate for ourselves.
That is so perfect. That is so perfect. We talk money scripts, and in the financial space, we talk about how you learned about money, and it's typically before age 10, and what your experiences were and what you believe.
Yep.
And so all of those things really bleed into work, because most people are working for money, right?
Yep.
And so, I love what you're saying about being able to decouple yourself or separate the different parts of you and isolate work, not as an identity, but as something that you do.
Yeah.
That's so perfect. As we wrap in, I know every time I hear you speak, every time I read your posts, I think to myself, the world needs to hear more of you. How can people find you? How can people follow you? Like what ways can people really continue to learn from you in this space?
Yeah, so follow me here on LinkedIn. It's you see my name, and then I would also say you can also connect with me on my website through our newsletter. It's Carolon-Donnally.com, and so would love to be able to connect. DM me, all the things. So
All the things. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, your insight,
yeah.
And what you do. Right, this is a place that we see very deep need for folks to rewire and to be cognizant. And so we'll be following, we'll be watching, and for the folks listening, thank you for joining us for this version of Alchemist Wealth Money Talks. We'll be back soon, and have a good rest of your day.
If you enjoyed that video, be sure to subscribe. If you want to learn more about how we serve our clients, visit our website at www.alchemistwealth.com.
On the way to being free.